literally everything else on the planet is a ceramic, because the actual list of types of materials on the planet is pretty short. We know that the Earth is composed of elements, right? They make up everything, but let's take a step past elements and say, what are the things on Earth? Like, what are we looking at that is around us, and what is it made of? And that's actually a more simple list than you may believe. The first is people, plants, and animals. Now, these are what we historically would call organics, right? They are living things, and they exist in what's an organic structure. Now, we'll talk about what organic really means here in a bit, but if you're on top of your definitions of organics, you'll also know that plastic and oil are organics. Now, yes, they're derived from formerly living things, and they're actually made up of the same stuff as we are, and so that actually keeps them in that category of organic. The next thing that we have, though, is the air around us. Now, the air isn't something that we commonly think about, but when we go back to our states of matter, right, there's liquid, solid, gas, and plasma. Well, gas is a state of matter, and that's the way a lot of our materials exist in the atmosphere. It's a very limited number of molecules, stuff like hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen out in the atmosphere, but there can be lots of other things that exist as gas, but that's a state of matter that definitely is a thing. Our next one is metals. Now, metals are one when you stop to think about it, it's kind of a weird category, and we're going to talk about exactly what makes something a metal here in a second, but metals are definitely a type of material on the planet. And then we get left with sort of everything else. I mean, if you stop and think about that basic list of organics and air or gases and metals, like, what else is everything that you know? Well, we have already talked about that. The Earth is mostly made up of rocks and all sorts of other things like concrete and clay and glass. And oh my goodness, they're all ceramics. Literally everything else on the planet is a ceramic, because the actual list of types of materials on the planet is pretty short. It is metals, and those are materials that have a very specific chemical structure that we'll explore. And we've got organics, which are things that are based in carbon molecularly. And then we have ceramics, and that's kind of the entire list.